So I want to welcome everybody back after a couple of months of taking off. As you remember, from October to December, we read the first 6 chapters of this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we're on the 7th chapter. We might as well get right to it. So we'll go to the texts. Beginning in April 24. This is lesson 1. We're only doing one lesson this week because April started on a Monday, so Sunday wasn't available. This is chapter 10 of the 10th canto, the killing of the demon Trinavarta. However, the chapter begins with a description, and that's the texts we read this week in 1 through 17, of Krishna killing the Shakatasura demon. That's why I've used this photo here. And let's do the introduction so that it's clear why we're here specifically. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, texts 1 through 3.
I hate to interrupt, Prabhu, but
Sure,
I think it's chapter 7 it's supposed to be.
Oh, thank you very much. It is. That's because this was from some other work I was doing. Thanks. Appreciate that. King Parikshit said, "My Lord, Sukadev Goswami, all the various activities exhibited by the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly pleasing to the ear and to the mind. Simply by one's hearing these activities, the dirty things in one's mind immediately vanish. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Thus, one's attachment for hearing about other material things, which is the root cause of our material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, attachment for him, and friendship with devotees who give us the contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fit, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord. Please describe other pastimes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality, who appeared on this planet Earth, imitating a human child and performing wonderful activities like killing Putana." And of course, this inquiry came just after hearing the story of Putana. Premananda Prabhu wrote a real nice forum entry, a forum post describing the benefits and unique features of hearing these specific pastimes of Krishna as in his baby pastimes, in his childhood pastimes. Samapriya, you want to choose somebody to read the purports? And you need to unmute.
Acharya, would you like to read?
Yes, the purport to which verses is it? To 1 and 2?
1 through 3.
1 through 3. Okay. Canto 10, chapter 7, purport of 1 and 2. First.
No, you read what's on the screen, Prabhu.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And that can give me just 5 seconds to enlarge that so I could read it. Okay, I'm sorry. Purport. Asanapi kleshada asadeha. As long as we have these temporary bodies, they give us many varieties of tribulation. Adhyatmika, adibhotika, and adidaivika. This is the root cause of all suffering, but this root cause of suffering can be removed by revival of our Krishna consciousness. All the Vedic literatures presented by Vyasadeva and other great sages are therefore intended to revive our Krishna consciousness, which begins to revive with Shravana Kirtanam. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam 1-17. Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures exist simply to give us a chance to hear about Krishna. Krishna has different avatars or incarnations, all of which are wonderful and which arouse one's inquisitiveness. But generally, such avatars as Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha are not as attractive as Krishna. First of all, however, we have no attraction for hearing about Krishna, and this is the root cause of our suffering.
Very good. Let's finish the purport before we comment. And Tisha, would you like to read this?
Thanks, Hare Krishna. Purport continued. Parikit Maharaj specifically mentions that the wonderful activities of baby Krishna, which amazed Mother Yashoda and the other inhabitants of Braj, are especially attractive. The process to revive one's Krishna consciousness is Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.15. The pastimes of Krishna can be properly received from devotees. If one has developed a little bit of Krishna consciousness by hearing from Vaishnavas about the activities of Krishna, one becomes attached to Vaishnavas who are interested only in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Parikit Maharaj recommends that one hear about Krishna's childhood activities, which are more attractive than the activities of other incarnations such as Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha. Wanting to hear more and more from Sukadev Goswami, Maharaj Parikit requested him to continue describing Krishna's childhood activities, which are especially easy to hear and which create more and more inquisitiveness.
Very nice. So what do you think that is? Why is it more relishable to hear about Krishna's pastimes? Because sometimes we hear that whatever pastimes of the Lord in any incarnations, they should all be heard and relished. But specifically here it's being noted that these pastimes of Krishna are the most relishable. Why is that? Why do you think? Either one. Yeah, you speak and then Acharya will give us his.
I just guess that I would think that is because he's a child and kind of naughty, and there's just so much activity, and it helps your mind, be attracted to that.
Good. Yeah, good. What do you think, Acharya? Thank you, Tisha.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice point, that because they're, apparently human-like, sometimes, but what does Bhagavad Gita say? That people deride me when I come in my human form, but it's also a sweetness and an accessibility when he comes in the human form also. So I thought that was a nice point.
Yeah, it's personal, right? We can have a personal relationship. Sometimes in some of his other incarnations, like Lord Nrsingadev or Varaha, it's hard to think of embracing, your child Nrsingadev or your child Varaha. The different rasas. It's a little bit different, difficult to. So that's Krishna's mercy to display these wonderful pastimes. Good.
Actually, just in that. Oh, go ahead, Acharya.
No, you first, please.
No, go ahead. You had something right on the tip of your tongue.
Devotees.
Yeah, one other thing is because Krishna is avatari, he's the source of all the avatars, then whatever qualities and power and amazingness and sweetness that they have, and they also have unlimited, but whatever is present there, because Krishna is the source of all the avatars, he naturally contains all of that within himself and more.
Wonderful. Yeah, exactly. And expanding that concept out into the personal human-like activities that he performs, we know that there's different rasas. Samapriya mentioned that. There's servants, friends, parents, and lovers. And we find that all the other avatars, even up to Lord Ram, who's practically the most human-like in his exchanges, or Lord Buddha, the rest of them, you think of Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana a little bit, but as soon as Vamana was born, we don't hear about his baby activities. We hear about him going out and meeting Bali Maharaj at the sacrifice. Then Parasuram, he's also not real involved in his loving exchanges with different people. Then Lord Ram, there's some nice pastimes with him. He appeared with the 3 other brothers, which are the other 3 expansions of the Chaturvyuha. And there's some descriptions of Ram's exchanges with Dasvaras and Kaushalya and the different people in the palace. But there's no real expansive relationships of love described in the other avatars, or even exhibited by them and experienced by them. But Lord Krishna, such a sweet personality, as we know, Krishna means all attractive. So he's all attractive to everyone. And here, Maharaj Pariksit specifically is talking about his baby childhood pastimes, because as we know, children are extremely attractive, especially to parents and elders in a family or community. So just imagine how sweet the baby pastimes. We can't even imagine. We'll read a little later in the Damodar pastime of how Mother Yasoda is breastfeeding the supreme personality of Godhead. So in this way, Maharaj Pariksit has caught that thread, that tide, that current in the ocean of nectar, and he wants Sukadeva Goswami to speak more on it. Ian?
Hare Krishna, Ian.
Hi, Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, you too.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I'm just thinking that the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the original person, is playing the part of a baby. So I was just thinking of that this morning. It's inconceivable. I mean, the supreme person, the original person, having a mother and father, those activities that a baby would naturally do. So that's something I was thinking about this morning. It's only Lord could do that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. He can be the most powerful person. He is the most powerful person, and not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. But yet, on the whole other side, you can relate to him as your child. And that is very mystical right there. And that's the attractive feature. That everyone can have a personal relationship with Krishna. So Ian, would you like to read?
Here, just before we go on, the reason
Yeah.
that I put this in red specifically is we'll talk about it at the end if there's some time. This is a famous verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about the process to revive our Krishna consciousness. So we'll speak about that at the end. Okay, Ian.
Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.4. Shukadeva Goswami said, when Mother Yashoda's baby was slanting his body to attempt to rise and turn around, this attempt was observed by a Vedic ceremony. In such a ceremony, called Uttana, which is performed when a child is due to leave the house for the first time, the child is properly bathed. Just after Krishna turned 3 months old, Mother Yashoda celebrated this ceremony with other women of the neighborhood. On that day, there was a conjunction of the moon with the constellation Rohini. As the Brahmanas, joined by chanting Vedic hymns and professional musicians, also took part, this great ceremony was observed by Mother Yashoda. And purport by Srila Prabhupada, Vedic society is so well organized and people are so advanced in spiritual consciousness that childbirth is never regarded as a burden or botheration. The more a child grows, the more his parents become jubilant, and the child's attempts to turn over are also a source of jubilation. In contrast, people in modern civilization do not like pregnancy or childbirth, and when there is a child, they sometimes kill it. We can just consider how human society has fallen since the inauguration of Kali Yuga. Although people still claim to be civilized, at the present moment there is actually no human civilization, but only an assembly of two-legged animals. Wow, Hare Krishna.
Unmute, Sama.
This Srila Prabhupada wrote 47 years ago. This is what he spoke, and just see what's happening in the world today. Okay, so what do you have to say about that, Ian, can you comment?
Yes, so we see in Vedic times, or the birth of a child, in prior to to childbirth, a lot of activities were taking place. So, as you said there, that for different times during the birth, after birth and so forth, different ceremonies were taking place. So we see when that I think he said something about the baby Krishna was slanting himself, and there was some sort of ritual and Vedic hymns being chanted and so forth. Yeah, so we see, and as we see further that so much activity were in other words, it's said in purport that, and we can see the difference between the Vedic civilization where people, it was joyous in having children, and the contrast now is that we're not so fussy with pregnancy, and as you said that, we even try to kill it. As a matter of fact, we try so much to prevent pregnancy by having what you call kind of contraceptive. So we see the contrast with two, Vedic society and present. And I wonder why we call it modern civilization, because to me it's not, I don't see anything as modern in it and civilized. So that's my bit. Hare Krishna.
Terrible. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. That is not a very nice subject matter, but it's essential for us to hear these things so that we can understand the real state of the world and why we're actually trying to become Krishna conscious. Okay, let's go on now with Gopa Patniji.
Actually,
you-
Priyaji, before we go on, there's a couple points I wanted to
Oh, sorry.
point
Betsy.
out here. No, no problem. In our meditation of this, as we've described many times before, the best process, the recommended process, is not just to simply read these activities as stories, but to actually become absorbed in them, to meditate upon them, to become so involved with Krishna, the person, that we fall in love with him through these activities that he performed. That's the reason he comes to this world, to perform them. So in that regard, his different ages fuel a particular taste in the relationship. So it's mentioned here that this was it was Uttana, 3 months old. In Jiva Goswami's book Gopala Champu, it says 100 days. So when we meditate on the baby and Mother Yasoda's dealings with him at this particular pastime, it's nice to meditate that he's 100 days old. He's 3 months old. Also, there's another interesting ceremony. This is called Uttana. Uttana also happens every year because we know that in the summertime, in July, begins a 4-month period called the Chaturmasya, 4 months, Chaturmasya. During that time, it's said that Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the Lord of the universe, goes to sleep for 4 months. So what happens is that he goes to sleep in July, then there's 1 month, then there's 2 months, and halfway through that period, there's an Ekadasi called Uttana Ekadasi, and he turns over in his sleep. So they have a big festival, especially in Jagannath Puri and different places where Lord Vishnu is worshipped. Even today, the whole idea is to become absorbed in the Lord and his pastimes in relationship to everything else. And in this way, that helps inspire that. Just a couple points from this particular verse in purport. Okay, Gopa Patni. Next, please.
Gopa, you there?
Yes, I'm just,
Oh.
having some technical difficulties.
I was going to say, but you sound good. Welcome. Please read for us.
Okay. Shiva Bhagavatam 10:7, 5-6. After completing the bathing ceremony for the child, Mother Yashoda received the Brahmins by worshiping them with proper respect and giving them ample food grains and other eatables, clothing, desirable cows, and garlands. The Brahmins properly chanted Vedic hymns to observe the auspicious ceremony. And when they finished, and Mother Yashoda saw that the child fell felt sleepy, she lay down in bed with the child until he was peacefully asleep. The liberal Mother Yashoda, absorbed in celebrating the Uttana ceremony, was busy receiving guests, worshiping them with all respect and offering them clothing, cows, garlands, and grains. Thus, she could not hear the child crying for his mother. At that time, the child Krishna, demanding to drink the milk of his mother's breast, angrily threw his legs upward. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. An affectionate mother takes care of her child and is always anxious to see that the child is not disturbed even for a moment. As long as the child wants to remain with the mother stays with the child, and the child feels very comfortable. Mother Yashoda saw that her child felt sleepy, and to give him all facilities for sleep, she lay down with the child. And when he was peaceful, she got up to attend to her other household affairs.
It's beautiful. Everything is a celebration in Krishna's Leela. And what about those cows? How can, whenever Mother Yasoda or Nanda Maharaj have a festival, there's distribution of hundreds and hundreds of cows. Nanda Maharaj was so wealthy that he had more than 10 million cows. Oh, that's a few
amazing?
cows. So, and not only just giving the cows, they all had golden plates on their hooves and horns.
Garlands, nice silk things sometimes. Or like she was even given all the nice stuff too. Clothing, and I don't know if it said jewels or not. Is Mother
Sometimes they
Sama
were
okay?
jeweled. Yeah, she's okay.
Yeah?
She's
Okay.
just having some difficulty. Let's go back. Okay.
Sorry. Faye, would you like to read that one paragraph, the next paragraph?
What next paragraph?
Well, no, there's the next verse because it's small. Oh, I have it different on here.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.7. Lord Sri Krishna was lying down underneath the handcart in one corner of the courtyard. And although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned over violently and collapsed. The wheels separated from the axle. The hubs and the spokes fell apart, and the pole of the handcart broke. On the cart, there were many little utensils made of various metals, and all of them scattered hither and thither.
Do you want to go on with the purport?
Yes, Madam. Thank you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna had been placed underneath a household handcart, but this handcart was actually another form of the Shaktasura, a demon who had come there to kill the child. Now, on the plea of demanding to suck his mother's breast, Krishna took this opportunity to kill the demon. Thus, he kicked Shakatasura just to expose him. Although Krishna's mother was engaged in receiving guests, Lord Krishna wanted to draw her attention by killing Shaktasura, and therefore he kicked that cart-shaped demon. Such are the pastimes of Krishna. Krishna wanted to draw the attention of his mother, but while doing so, he created a great havoc, not understandable by ordinary persons. These narrations are wonderfully enjoyable, and those who are fortunate are struck with wonder upon hearing of these extraordinary activities of the Lord. Although the less intelligent regard them as mythological because a dull brain cannot understand them, they are real facts. These narrations are actually so enjoyable and enlightening that Maharaj Pariksit and Sukadev Goswami took pleasure in them, and other liberated persons following in their footsteps become jubilant by hearing about the wonderful activities of the Lord.
Do you want to say something about that, Faye?
I
Sure.
wanted to make a comment about our classmates' essays
Hmm.
and how they tied into the Leela that we just read with more and more detail. I think it's amazing that all of these pastimes of Krishna are so intricate and so connected to so many other things. As a human, our vision is rather myopic. We can see little, but as a group, we've contributed. Here's a few more details about the demon. Here's a few more details about how the demon was cursed and why and how the curse was lifted at the appropriate time. Even though I can't see the big picture, just hearing and reading the little pieces are a delight. And I introduced myself to that pastime by reading Krishna book. From Krishna book and all of the wonderful essays and other things that we've read in other scriptures, it fits nicely. And the richness comes out and devotees enjoy sharing it.
Right. There's a nice point that you brought out that we can also, I think, apply to our own sojourns in life, is that there is a bigger picture, a much bigger picture. For example, our past lives and our future lives. So and hearing about how those are interrelated also helps me have faith that there's an ultimate plan, although oftentimes I can't come close to seeing that. It helps have confidence and faith that by following and gradually progressing on this path, it's becoming more and more clear and wonderful things happen. Jai. Sama, who's next?
Sri Vrindavan, would you like to read?
Let's go on.
Hare Krishna, Mother, we are driving to Deland, so I'm just
okay.
sorry about that. I
Okay.
didn't want to miss it. Hare Krishna.
Okay, sweetie, thank you. How about Acharya? Would you like to continue?
Sure. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, Text 8 and 9. When Mother Yashoda and the other ladies who had assembled for the Uttana festival and all the men headed by Nanda Maharaj saw the wonderful situation, they began to consider how the hand cart had collapsed by itself. They began to wander here and there, trying to find the cause, but were unable to do so. The assembled cowherd men and ladies began to contemplate how this thing had happened. Is it the work of some demon or evil planet? They asked. At that time, the small children present asserted that the cart had been kicked apart by the baby Krishna. As soon as the crying baby had kicked the cart's wheel, the cart had collapsed. There was no doubt about it.
Go ahead.
Purport. We have heard of peoples being haunted by ghosts. Having no gross material body, a ghost seeks shelter of a gross body to stay in and haunt. The Shakatasura was a ghost who had taken shelter of the hand cart and was looking for the opportunity to do mischief to Krishna. When Krishna kicked the cart with his small and very delicate legs, the ghost was immediately pushed down to the earth and his shelter dismantled, as already described. Krishna's body is Satchidananda Vigraha, or Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Vigraha. That is, any of the parts of his Ananda Chinmaya body can act for any other part. Such are the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord does not need to acquire these potencies, he already has them. Thus, Krishna kicked his little legs and his whole purpose was fulfilled. Also, when the handcart broke, an ordinary child could have been injured in many ways. But because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he enjoyed the dismantling of the cart and nothing injured him. Everything done by him is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, full of transcendental bliss. Thus, Krishna factually enjoyed. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The cart was struck by the soft lotus feet of Krishna as if with very little force. To break the cart, Krishna did not extend his foot high upward like Vamana in breaking the shell of the universe, nor did Krishna's feet become hard like Nrsimha's nails to tear apart the hard body of Hiranyakashipu. This rare display of power by Krishna, which does not contradict the sweetness of his childhood pastimes, shows the completeness of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan.
Pot,
Sorry, that.
unmute.
Thank you very much. That part about the demon having a ghost body, I think you found that curse in Garga Samhita.
Correct.
Want to explain a little bit about what Garga Samhita is and how he might have known that?
I don't know. I don't know if I could say much about that. I know it's a Purana-like literature, but I don't really know much
Well,
about.
who was Garga
Oh,
Samhita
Garga
written
Muni.
by?
Yeah, Garga Muni
And who is Garga
itself
Muni?
is a great sage, and he did the birth name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. And at that time, he predicted so many things about Krishna's and Balaram's pastimes. So presumably he's being all-knowing like that, knowing the pastimes before they happened. His book, Garga Samhita, contains also so many descriptions of Krishna's pastimes. But I don't know much about Garga Samhita itself.
Uh-huh.
Another
ahead.
thing is that in the purport, Prabhupada says that Krishna is enjoying. He's fully enjoying. So Prabhupada said that if one is lamenting, it means that Maya is attacking. So we are supposed to be in a joyful state of mind at all times. Really, that's our constitutional position. But actually, in the material world, most of us are lamenting. Oh, great lamenters about everything. We can lament about everything. But actually, our constitutional position, just like Krishna's, is that we're enjoying, that we're pleasure seeking, that they're happy, and the only lamentation is that we're separated from Krishna. So that's also another good point. Thank you, Acharya. Sorry.
Yeah, going back to the point about Garga Samhita. Just as we were just speaking about our limited vision of past, present, and future, we're in material bodies in Kali Yuga on the Earth planet. And our consciousness, our ability to understand things is extremely stunted. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyo hupadarito. We read that in the first canto. That during the first canto, remember, we go back to the sages at Namasharanya, and they were asking Sutta Goswami that the Vedas are a vast body of literature. And what is the best method for people in this day and age to attain enlightenment? So the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is compiled with that idea in mind by Vyasadeva and other sages and living entities who are far, far more advanced in consciousness than human beings on earth in Kali Yuga. And Garga Muni is one of those. When Krishna was born, you may remember that Vasudev in Mathura asked the priest of the Yadu dynasty, he's the priest of the demigods who had taken birth on earth. That was Garga Muni. And when Garga Muni came and did the astrological, we'll read this in upcoming chapters. When he came to I think we didn't read that yet. Did we read that yet? Garga Muni coming to do the boys' charts? No, I think that's upcoming. Oh, I can't remember. I get all mixed
We're
up.
getting mixed up with Gopalachandra.
No, not Gopalachandra.
Oh,
With the previous chapters that we studied. What happened was there was a meeting of Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj. Even prior to that, we did read it. That
yeah, it's a name-giving ceremony.
that, yes, the Garga Muni came there, and they had to do it incognito in the cowshed because of Kamsa's persecution. But when Garga Muni did the child's charts, he actually saw that in the past, it's a famous verse. He said, your son, Nanda Maharaj, has appeared in different colors. He comes in red, he comes in yellow, he comes in black, and he comes in golden form, a yellow form. Now he's in his blackish feature. So the point being made in that Garga Samhita is that he could also, through astrology and vision of different living entities, pasts, presents, and future, understand that Utkacha was the demon who had been cursed and thus appeared again after offending Lomasa Rishi, as described in that purport. There's another point here that that didn't get touched upon, which is important. And Acharya, I'd like you to maybe say a little something about this. This rare display of power by Krishna, which does not contradict the sweetness of his childhood pastimes, shows the completeness of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan.
The first thing I'll say is that on Thursday I gave class in Krishna House, and it was from the third canto about Lord Varaha, and I referenced this point in describing Lord Varaha that Krishna killed Shakadasura just as a little baby kicking his legs. He didn't have to take a big amazing form. But as for the point Prabhupada's making, are you referring to the point about not contradicting his sweetness? Is that the aspect you're thinking
Well,
of?
actually, here's what Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is pointing out, that it's a rare display of power by a baby Krishna, not contradicting the sweetness of his childhood pastimes. Generally, when someone exhibits the power of God, the other incarnations of the Lord, when they exhibit their power, the sweetness of the loving relationship is almost counteracted or becomes so subordinate to that greatness that it's not manifested, it's not appreciated by anyone. But here we see that all the residents of Vrindavan, although he exhibited such a power, this was a huge cart. It was described as tall as a tree. And when he kicked it, it dismantled the whole thing. Everything fell off it. It fell apart. It broke down. So no ordinary child could do such a thing. But at the same time, the unique feature here is that the sweetness of his still being a baby was kept intact. I think that's what we were looking for.
Yeah.
Krishna's wonderful. No
Yes,
doubt.
Krishna's wonderful, no doubt. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Acharya. How about let's go on with Tisha. Tisha, would you like to read?
Yes, Mother, thank you. 10:7, 10 through 15. The assembled gopis and gopas, unaware that Krishna is always unlimited, could not believe that baby Krishna had such inconceivable power. They could not believe the statements of the children, and therefore they neglected these statements as being childish talk. Thinking that some bad planet had attacked Krishna, Mother Yashoda picked up the crying child and allowed him to suck her breast. Then she called for experienced Brahmins to chant Vedic hymns and perform an auspicious ritualistic ceremony. After the strong, stout cowherd men assembled the pots and paraphernalia on the handcart and set it up as before, the Brahmins performed a ritualistic ceremony with the fire sacrifice to appease the bad planet, and then, with rice grains, kusha, water, and curd, they worship the Supreme Lord. When Brahmins are free from envy, untruthfulness, unnecessary pride, grudges, disturbance by the opulence of others, and false prestige, their blessings never go in vain. Considering this, Nanda Maharaj soberly took Krishna on his lap and invited such truthful Brahmins to perform a ritualistic ceremony according to the holy hymns of the Samaveda, Rig Veda, and Yajurveda. Then, while the hymns were being chanted, he bathed the child with water mixed with pure herbs, and after performing a fire ceremony, he sumptuously fed all the Brahmins with first-class grains and other food. But I have a question.
Yes. Which-
In that sentence right there, that the Brahmins worshipped the Supreme Lord, like, who were they? Were they worshiping, like,
Were they worshiping Krishna?
were they worshiping Krishna, but they didn't know he was the Supreme Lord? Or were, you know what I'm saying? Or were they worshiping Vishnu or something else?
They were worshiping Vishnu. Krishna, in this, he is still hiding his godhood. Because he's cultivating these personal relationships. So even Nanda Maharaj, every time Krishna does something, or there's a demon or something, do a puja. We do a puja. Who do you do a puja for? Narayan, to Vishnu.
Okay.
You know, so they're great Vaishnavas. Little do they know, no matter what, he's still my son. I don't care if he's God. You can say whatever you like. That's what Jagannath Mishra said about Vishwambara, about Lord Chaitanya. Yes, you might say, according to his chart, that he has so many godly qualities, and maybe he is Narayan, but I don't know. He's my son, and he has to go to school. That's very nice.
Nice.
You know, this is getting really absorbed in the personal relationship with Krishna. The only way we can actually have the liberty to do that is if first we understand the qualities of God. We cannot be offensive to God, to Krishna in any way. And then he allows us to love in this intimate manner, which means following all the rules and regulations, reading the Bhagavatam, actually becoming humbler than a great blade of grass, and understanding our eternal nature as servant. Then we're qualified to chastise Krishna. Otherwise, we don't have that liberty yet. But we're working toward it. This is the Yuga Dharma, we're chanting, so that there's hope. Not that we want to chastise Krishna, although maybe a lot of times we do, but in the mood of pure devotion. Very good. So I was going to ask Tisha to continue reading the purport, if that's all right.
Yes, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The most important word in these verses is Mahagunam, indicating that the Brahmins were offered very palatable food and of exalted quality. Such palatable dishes were generally prepared with two things, namely food grains and milk products. Simply by expert cooking, hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes can be prepared from agricultural produce and milk products. This is indicated here by the words Anam Mahagunam. From these two things, namely food grains and milk, hundreds and thousands of varieties of food are prepared, and then they are offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the prasad is distributed. Even today in Jagannath Kshetra and other big temples, very palatable dishes are offered to the deity, and prasad is distributed profusely. Cooked by first-class Brahmins and expert knowledge and then distributed to the public, this prasad is also a blessing from the Brahmins or Vaishnavas. This is the way of human society. Killing the cows and spoiling the land will not solve the problem of food. This is not civilization. Uncivilized men living in the jungle and being unqualified to produce food by agriculture and cow protection may eat animals. But a perfect human society, advanced in knowledge, must learn how to produce first-class food simply by agriculture and protection of cows. Jai.
Hare Krishna. Tell us something about that. Come on, let us have it.
I mean, I think it goes back to the thing with the babies, why we're in the predicament that we're in. These are some of the reasons why, because look how we treat the animals, look how we destroy the earth. This is, you know, it's just unthinkable, unimaginable that people can walk around and not understand the destruction they're causing.
No respect for life. Only a human being, that's life. And now, even less, kill your child. That's not life yet. It didn't come out. It's
I was reading about a story about Prabhupada about when they were building the temple. I think in the one that's by the water in India, not Delhi, but
Mumbai.
Mumbai, about the tree, that big tree that Prabhupada didn't want them to cut it down, so they had to go back to the government and they had to redo the road so that that tree wouldn't get cut, and it's still there. Do you know about that tree? Yeah, it's
in Vrindavan, the Tamal tree, very famous also in Vrindavan.
Right in the middle of the building. They left it.
Yeah.
One time Prabhupada came to Los Angeles, and he would walk around and he would look at all the different things to see that things were going nicely. Actually, we heard a tape the other day, and Prabhupada said he travels around the world to make sure his disciples are not falling down. So one time he came to LA, and there were these two trees in across the street from the temple. That's where many householders would live. And there were these two trees that had these little fruits on them. They were purple fruits, and they fell all over the place, and it made a big, huge mess, and nobody liked it, and it was causing problems for years. So then Prabhupada was coming, so they wanted everything pucker clean for Prabhupada, you know. So it was decided that those trees had to go. So they cut down the trees. And when Prabhupada came to walk around in that apartment complex, the first thing he said is, "What happened to the trees?" And it was actually terrible. Prabhupada was very, very disappointed about that we took the liberty to take the life of the trees. Such respect for life, seeing the soul in all living beings. I don't know, it just dawned on me. So we have one more. Pati, you want to add something else to this?
No. Good.
Okay. So maybe we can go on and Ian, would you like to finish up here?
Okay.
I want you to read slow.
I will try. I'm a fast talker, so
I know, so we're trying to slow you down so we can actually hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay, so 10.7, that's 16 to 17. So Nanda Maharaj, for the sake of the affluence of his own son Krishna, gave the Brahmanas cows fully decorated with garments, flower garlands, and gold necklaces. These cows, fully qualified to give ample milk, were given to Brahmanas in charity, and the Brahmanas accepted them and bestowed blessings upon the whole family, and especially upon Krishna. Brahmanas, who were completely expert in chanting the Vedic hymns, were all yogis fully equipped with mystic powers. Whatever blessings they spoke were certainly never fruitless. Upward. Brahmanas fully equipped with the Brahmanical qualifications are always yogis fully powerful in mystic yoga. Their words never fail. In every transaction with other members of society, Brahmanas are certainly dependable. In this age, however, one must take into account that Brahmanas are uncertain in their qualifications because there are no yogic Brahmanas or yogyas are forbidden. The only yagya recommended in these ages, Sankirtan Yagya. Yagni Sankirtan prayer, Yajanti Sumidhyashaha. Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Yoga is meant to satisfy Vishnu. Because in this age there are no qualified Brahmanas, people should perform yoga by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Life is meant for yoga. And yoga is performed by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
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 Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare. Hare Bol.
That's beautiful. Teacher wrote something really beautiful on this. What can you comment on this for us, Ian? A little bit?
Could you put by the page and let me see if I can quickly? Okay, so we see Nanda Maharaj is always, giving codes, and say for the sake of the affluence of his own son Krishna gave Brahmanas cows decorated. So they were decorated flagons and those things. And they fully qualified to gamble milk, and they were given to Brahmanas in charity and accepted them and bestowed blessing on the whole family. So there's a giving of charity and there was also a giving of blessings.
Yeah.
So also said they were expert in chanting Vedic hymns.
They were expert not only chanting Vedic hymns, but can you put it back, Hati, to the page? The qualifications of Brahmanas are being described in the purport.
Yeah, oh, yes. So it's just saying that compared to then and now, that the Brahmanas were certainly qualified compared to now when they're no qualified Brahmanas who should perform yoga. And they said yoga is meant to satisfy Lord Vishnu. So we're saying that then and now, they were qualified, now they're not qualified. So so we don't have persons to do those yogas. And they said, therefore, we perform the yoga by chanting the Hare Krishna
Excellent.
mantra.
Very good. So that's the yoga of the age.
Right, Yuga-dharma.
Yuga-dharma. One important point is that Prabhupada created this movement, actually, Acharya knows, to form Brahmins, to make Brahmins. That's what he wanted. He wanted to make Brahmins. He wanted to bring out the good qualities in human society: forgiveness, tolerance, saintliness of all kinds. And we see this is lacking in the world. So devotees, no matter what your propensity, what service your propensity is, Prabhupada says also in the many purports that being a Vaishnava is even more exalted than being a Brahmana. It transcends everything. You could have a propensity to do farming, but if you're a Vaishnava, then you know the goal of life and you have these qualities of a Brahmin even. So it's up to us to really cultivate this in our lives and display them in all of our activities, to know the qualities of a Brahmin, of a Vaishnava. And in our interactions with the world, that's how people will learn. That's the best way to preach, is to walk the walk, become a devotee, be a devotee in all of our dealings. And we always used to say, we want to act in such a way that Prabhupada will be pleased, knowing that Prabhupada and Krishna are seeing our behavior. So I think that's an important point for us to remember.
One of the things in this day and age, as described in the purport, is that there are no qualified Brahmins who can chant the mantras properly. Therefore, the concept of blessings from more advanced personalities, elders, Brahmins, and Vaishnavas is lacking in human society. The idea that you want to be blessed by someone or obtain their mercy. Earlier, we read in the story of Shakatasura and how he was actually cursed by Lomasa Rishi to become a ghost like demon. So on that side, we can see that, and later we'll read about Narada Muni cursing Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, who became trees. That's one side of it, the result of a curse. But the exact opposite is also there, that if one receives the blessings of a Vaishnav, the blessings of a Brahmin, then good fortune comes into one's life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with that person who's seeking such shelter. And here we see that the father of Krishna, Nanda Maharaj, wanted the blessings of such people for his son. So in Vedic culture, it's actually a pillar of society. It's a pillar of one's activities to seek out the blessings of those more advanced spiritually. And even Nanda Maharaj, the father of God, was also of that nature. So this particular verse ended that part, but there's one film I'm going to try and say. We brought some pictures back from our trip to India.
Before we go there, could I just say one thing about Prabhupada with
Certainly.
blessings? When Prabhupada talks about how when sadhus used to come to his home, and sadhus came often because his father liked to serve the devotees, every time he would ask, please bless my son, that he becomes a great devotee of Srimati Radharani. That was and there we have it. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry. I thought that was
fine.
it's so sweet.
So in regards to cows and America, we live right next to a devotee that keeps cows. So we're rather fortunate that they're right next door. And oftentimes there's other devotees who have cows. There are a lot of people in this area that breed cows, but not for milk or not for caring for them. Most people in America have never seen a slaughterhouse or even been near one. And a lot of people don't even ever see a cow in their lives. But in India, the culture is extremely different because of its roots in Vedic culture. So here we see just across the street from Govardhan Hill, when we were at
No, this is Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan.
No, is it?
Yes, that's the Goshala in Vrindavan.
This is the Goshala at Bhaktivedanta.
Yeah.
Bhaktivedanta and Vrindavan. Yeah, I thought it was this other one because we have another one that's. This is a movie. I don't know if
There's
it's
a Vrindavan. Yeah. Put on the sound.
It's on.
Oh, no.
You can't hear the sound?
Oh, maybe I recorded it with the sound off.
No, I can hear it. Let me check I thought when I did share screen, I clicked.
We're trying to show you some things that happened to us in India.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Oops.
Oh, no.
I'll go back.
There you go. On the side of the road in Govardhan Hill, you purchase one of these bales of greens for 100 rupees, and then you can feed the cows.
This is right on the side of the road.
What's going on here?
Radhe,
Radhe, Radhe. Feeding all the guys. There you go. Hare Krishna. Yes. Let's see another one. There you go. Yes, there. Oh, they're standing. They're so hungry. They're so happy to take the time. This is simple. Oh, that's wonderful. So much fun to do this. All right, go on.
Hey.
It's a common occurrence to see cows, sometimes even just walking in the street. But that particular place had hundreds of cows actually, and people would walk by. They're doing parikrama. They're walking around Govardhan Hill, which takes several hours. It's 14 miles, And some of them stop off and they'll feed cows as part of their pilgrimage. It's wonderful.
Should I tell the cow story? Or you got more
Sure.
pictures? Okay, so we would go every day to the hill, and it was just right there at the hill. We just crossed over to the street, and we were just right at the hill, and we do some
This is
puja
right
there.
across the street. Yeah.
Yeah. So and sometimes we see Nilgai, we see monkeys all the time, and cows and animals. And when Prabhupada talks about this, this is right where we used to go to. This is Govardhan Hill, and the devotees made this and painted all these beautiful faces on the shillas of the Govardhans. And there's my favorite. Everyone see that little Govardhan? He came everywhere with us. He's our Govardhan. So one day we were standing there, and the herd of cows just walked by. And generally, cows are pretty tough. You know, they're not real. They're big, and they have horns, and they you know, you keep your distance. They're wonderful, but they could get a little feisty. This cow, big, huge cow, walks right over to me and starts snuggling me. I held her around the neck, and we were like, I was crying. I couldn't believe it. No animal had ever, no cow. I never had that kind of rasa with a cow. Usually you're a little respectful, you pet them, but this cow didn't even know me, I don't think. Maybe she did know me, but and then it reminded me that Prabhupada said that all of these animals who have taken birth in the Dham, they are not ordinary dumb animals. They are great souls who are taking their last birth in Vrindavan and then going to Goloka Vrindavan. So that was, and then after I had this rasa with her, she goes over to my husband, and he had the same thing with her. It was just an amazing, wonderful, wonderful thing. That's all.
Got another shot, another nice one here. This is the Parikrama Trail. As we said, it goes on for 7 miles up one side of the hill and 7 miles the other. You can see all the different pilgrims, and this is how they greet one another.
They're doing Dandavats, it's called Dandavats,
all the way
around
the
the hill.
hill, laying down.
Oh, this guy.
There's the hill over here. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe 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 Radhe
Radhe Radhe. Radhe
So sweet. Ultra sweet. Oh my God. That's so sweet. I didn't come back from Govardhan yet. I'm still there. So I don't know if I'll ever come back. I hope I never come back. Such a sweet thing. Prabhupada gave us everything. Okay. You want to do some more pictures?
Actually, well, we have now Mayapur.
Okay, then that actually Govardhan was the second place. Mayapur, we went. We had a little bit of a soft landing. We had a nice place to stay. Oh, Pati, you want to describe these pictures?
This is actually, we're sitting to the left is Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi. This is part of the building. This is where you enter in and walk up the stairs here. And there was a little place where we chanted a couple of rounds, viewing the new temple, which is here, right next to Srila
The
Prabhupada's Samadhi.
LVP.
And just behind us in this little area, under Prabhupada's Samadhi, this is his car. Srila
Prabhupada's
you
car.
had T-lock on it.
That
then
Gargamuni made.
Yeah. That's the only two we have from Mayapur. Then we're back.
Oh
to
no, we have
Govardhan.
some. Oh, there's
That's the
the.
only ones I brought. This is back in Govardhan. This is the retreat center where we stayed with a big Govardhan Shila at the entrance.
And then you could see the hill from just standing on the roof. We would chant our rounds, and there was the hill. This is it. You could, in different places, just touch. So we didn't need to go anywhere else. We were just fine at Govardhan and chanting Hare Krishna and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It was just really special seva, special to go to the Dham. But then we have to realize that the Dham is in our hearts too. There's different places where the Dham exists. And because, there's so many devotees, we can't all go, and everybody has their different things they deal with. That's the place we have to go and cultivate the Dharma of the heart.
Hmm.
And then we'll always be happy. And then really, it does exist there because there's other episodes that experiences that help us to understand that. But that's a really big lesson that no matter where you go, and even if you do parikma around Govardhan Hill, you could be in. My husband tells the story one time doing parikma around Govardhan. He's talking to someone from New York about something that happened in Brooklyn. So where was that person? Was he in Brooklyn or was he around Govardhan Hill? So in the same way, you can be in Alachua, or you could be in Virginia, or wherever, or the islands, and you can really be with Krishna if you chant the holy name, performing the Yuga Dharma, and try to meditate on Krishna in your heart. And all these things that we're reading is to help us to go into that place in the heart so that we can achieve the goal of life in a very simple way.
Regarding that, I want to go back now into the texts. If you remember back at the beginning, back in the beginning, we had a verse that was highlighted. Here, this was the point where Pariksit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada was talking about how the root cause of our suffering is that we have a material body. This is the root cause of all suffering. But this root cause of suffering can be removed by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Then later on in the purport, he says, Pariksit Maharaj specifically mentions the wonderful activities of baby Krishna, which amazed Mother Yasoda and the other inhabitants of Braj, are especially attractive. The process to revive one's Krishna consciousness is Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. And he quotes it from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So I wanted to go over that verse a little bit so that we can understand and appreciate that the process of Krishna consciousness is eternally progressive. It's not something that plateaus or becomes stagnant. Everything in this material world, everything. It builds up, it has a high point, and then it dismantles. Every enjoyment, every relationship, every experience we have, because time passes through time, past, present, and future. So this is the verse, Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. And let's go through the English, and then we can bring out the different points here. In the beginning, there must be faith, Shraddha, the beginning, Adau Shraddha. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that even if somebody's a little bit interested and thinks, oh, I'll go to the temple, or I'll read this book, or you meet somebody and you start to talk to them about spiritual life, and there's a little bit of interest, that's faith, Shraddha. It's the seed. It's an interest in spiritual life. Then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Once that faith becomes a little bit watered, you want to associate with others who have that, and that's sadhu sangha. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, so there's Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. Once one associates with devotees, one actually wants to follow the regulative principles and accept initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. This is called bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya means the activities of performing bhajan. So there's a little bit of faith, one associates with devotees, then one agrees to incorporate those activities into one's daily life. And that means following the four regulative principles and following and accepting initiation, bhajana kriya. Once one does that, what's the next step? One is freed from all unwanted habits. Anartha nivritti. Anartha means unwanted things, and nivritti means to become cleansed of them. So those who have, like one of the most easy examples to see in our own lives is those who had bad dietary habits prior to meeting devotees, now enjoy prasadam and wouldn't think of eating those things that we used to eat. What a karmi, what a mudha, what an asura thinks is pleasurable. A devotee completely negates that. It's not even attractive to them anymore because that anartha, that unwanted thing in the heart has been completely cleansed. So faith, association with devotees, following the process of devotional service, and then all the things in the heart become clear. When that happens, what happens? The next step is that one becomes fixed in devotional service, nishtha. This means that it becomes a regular habit. It's not forced. One doesn't have to force it upon oneself anymore. It becomes natural. Just like the example is given of learning a musical instrument. If one practices the scales on the piano over and over and over again, then at some point it becomes really easy to play those scales. You don't even have to think about it anymore. It just becomes natural and one becomes fixed. Now, in devotional service, once one becomes fixed, then what happens is that simultaneously, along with that nishtha, becomes ruchi. There's actually a taste. These are all there even in the beginning. Otherwise, if one didn't have a little taste, why would they continue? But the actual stage of experiencing the taste is much more relishable than just having a little bit of it. The person actually becomes totally captivated and their life becomes so absorbed that they have a taste for Krishna and Krishna's service. And along with taste comes attachment, atha shaktis. So there's ruchis and atha shaktis. Atha shaktis means attachment. Just like anybody, if somebody's doing something and they're getting a taste for it and they're becoming attached to doing it, then it's growing on them. This is the way of sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti, sadhana means to follow a particular practice. There's different kinds of sadhana. This is all described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There's basically two different kinds of sadhana. One is called Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is following the four regulative principles, following the rules and regulations, going to the temple, living a very scripturally oriented lifestyle. Because scripture says it, I'm willing to do it. Then what happens is that as these different stages progress, then the next stage from Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is called Raga sadhana bhakti. Raga sadhana bhakti means that it becomes more of a spontaneous action, just like the musical instruments again. And it means following in the footsteps of those who have raga, ragatmika bhakti, which are the residents of Vrindavan. So this is the way of sadhana bhakti and the execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles. Another stage beyond that, gradually emotions intensify, and this is called bhava. Finally, there's an awakening of love called prema. This is the gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotees interested in Krishna consciousness. This is Rupa Goswami's formula for describing the different stages of developing love for Krishna. It's compared to cooking sugarcane. Just like sugarcane comes from a stick, they grind it, it becomes juice. They put the juice in a pot and they start to cook it. It becomes thicker and thicker and thicker. It becomes molasses. Thicker and thicker and thicker, it becomes hard, and finally it's gur. And then it can be even more crystallized into sugar. It's the same product. So the process is the same for the soul in all of its progressive stages. But the idea is that as we're falling more and more in love with Krishna, these symptoms become more and more prominent and awakened within the soul. Krishna Krishna prema sadhikabu noi shravanada sudha chitte kare odoi. So back to the beginning of our class today and our reading, Parikshit Maharaj is saying that these things are so attractive. Somebody want to read this, Sam? You want to ask somebody to read this?
Acharya.
King Parikshit said, "My Lord Shukadev Goswami, All the various activities exhibited by the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly pleasing to the ear and to the mind. Simply by one's hearing of these activities, the dirty things in one's mind immediately vanish. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Thus, one's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord, attachment for him, and friendship with devotees who give us the contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fit, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord.
So also, it's funny you wanted to refer back to this verse. Thank you, Acharya, for reading that. Prabhupada says also in the purport here, in this purport, I believe, that's part of the problem. We think with the body, and we do not have a taste to hear about Krishna. We don't have a taste. So taste versus don't like to hear about Krishna. Those are two different opposites of the pole, right? So the only way to we have to make some endeavor. We have to make some endeavor. If we know that we want to be happy and we want the absolute truth and we want to fall in love, we want to actually know what love is, then we have to make some endeavor, you know. And that's that for the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatam mam prapadyante, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So we have to make some endeavor, and then we can develop a taste.
Yeah, so thank you all for your association. Like-minded devotees, souls interested in these topics. We very much appreciate it. Looking forward to the next months of diving deeper into Krishna's pastimes.
Okay.
Any more comments, questions?
Just thank you for your explanation of the Ado Shraddha verse. That was really, I really liked that. It was very nicely done.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I read, when we were at Govardhan, one of the things I did was read that section on Raga Bhakti. It was very, very helpful for me to understand. What I love about the Goswami's books is that they're those sages that we look to understand reality and our consciousness, and they are in such touch with the emotions and feelings of love, and describe them and help us cultivate that for Krishna and for others. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hope to see you again next week. Oh, are we having this?
Yes.
Or are we going to Rath Yatra?
There's a Rath Yatra in St. Augustine next week, next Saturday. We're planning on going, but during our pilgrimage, Samapriya hurt her foot and probably won't be able to walk that path. So I'll let everybody know. I post by email about what our decision is, whether we will or won't postpone or cancel.
Although I might ride on the cart and be the pujari. That would be wonderful if I can handle that. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Welcome back. Have a good week, Hare Krishna.